Hello, my name is Nikki and I work as a tour guide for Mercat Tours. Edinburgh's Mercat Cross stands near the eastern end of the High Kirk of Edinburgh. It's a place where proclamations and announcements have been made for centuries. Back before the internet, it was where people got their news from. So in December 1687, for example, the following rather grumpy sounding royal proclamation was read out. James, by grace of God, King of Great Britain, France and Ireland, Defender of the Faith, to the amaces of our Privy Council, or messengers at arms, our sheriffs in that part, conjunctly and severally specially constitute, greetings. Forasmuch as by the 14th Act of the Third Parliament, held in the reign of our dearest royal brother of ever-glorious memory, entitled Act Restraining the Exorbitant Expense of Marriages, etc., upon the considerations therein mentioned, the keeping of penny weddings is prohibited and discharged, under and with the certifications and qualifications thereby expressly provided. And whereas, notwithstanding the said act and prohibitions, divers persons, vintners and others, have and still continue to contravene so necessary and useful a law, to the great contempt of our authority and expense, and the abuse of our ledgers, contrary to the design and the intent thereof. It concluded with, we charge you strictly and command that these incontinent letters seen ye pass to the Mercat Cross of Edinburgh and other Mercat Crosses of the headboroughs of the shires of the kingdom, and therein in our royal name and authority by open proclamation make publication of our pleasure in the premises, and also read the aforesaid Act of Parliament hereunto subjoined, so that none may pretend ignorance. The penny weddings that James VII was so opposed to were a Scottish tradition where all the guests paid for their own food and drink, enabling even the poor to have quite large and lavish parties that could last for days. It wasn't uncommon for penny weddings to have several hundred guests, including people from surrounding villages, and innkeepers were of course generally delighted to host them. The original legislation had been made in the time of King James's brother Charles II, and seems to have been part of what we call sumptuary laws. These regulate things like how fancy people's clothes could be and how lavish their entertainments could be, depending on their social rank. Whether the king's objection was to the poor having more fun than the rich, or the fact that such weddings would inevitably result in a large proportion of the population being drunk for several days at a time whenever somebody got married, is unknown. One of the provisions of the 1681 Act will certainly sound familiar to all of us in these days of lockdown. It's a restriction on the number of peoples able to attend. At marriages, beside the married persons, their parents, children, brothers and sisters and family wherein they live, there shall not be present at any contract of marriage or infare or meet upon the occasion thereof above 4 friends on either side, with their ordinary domestic servants. It seems that neither Charles II nor James VII succeeded in outlawing penny weddings, because in 1790 a Reverend Alexander Johnson of Aberdeenshire complained. 1, 2, even 300 would convene on these occasions to make merry at their own expense for 2 or more days. The scene of feasting, drinking, dancing, wooing, fighting was always enjoyed with the highest relish, until obliterated by a similar scene, and furnished ample materials for rural mirth and rural scandal. Even that didn't put people off, because you'll find a couple of 19th century paintings of penny weddings in the National Gallery of Edinburgh, which is well worth a visit when you can return to our beautiful city.